Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for pulling us all together, Chief. And obviously, I got a lot of questions. Here we are. We're in that time of year where we're talking about budget. We're talking about police, fire, first responders. There's so many questions with our citizens, and what it boils down to is where's our money, right? There's a lot of new programs, and so obviously for us. What I'm hearing is what's going on with the fire and EMS. Where were we? Where are we at today? So if you can kind of go into some detail, I'd love to hear more about it. And I know our community and friends and neighbors want to hear the same thing. So.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, we've got a couple of great things upcoming that you all, that our commissioners supported us within the needs of that we needed within our community of happening, and so. This coming fall, we'll be up, or this winter, we'll be up at a new fire station on Old Lebanon Dirt Road to replace the Hill Street station, which is right behind City Hall. We're not sure exactly when that station was built, but we're thinking it was in the 50s or so. And really inadequate facility as far as a modern fire station goes. It's just inadequate for them really to stay in, et cetera. But that's one of the first things when I came here as the chief that Mr. Martin told me to work on was, hey, we need to get a new station built and all those kind of things. We came up with the property, got the design completed. It is currently in construction, and we should have it done hopefully in December. And so we should be moving into that station by the end of the year and be fully functional out of that station before the end of the year. So that's going to be a great component for us because it provides more coverage to an area of the city that greatly needs that out toward the end of Old Lebanon Dirt Road before you get to the city limits. A lot of the subdivisions that are out there, we can service those subdivisions much better from that location, but also continue to service the rest of the city based on our future growth for that. Additionally to that, we'll be placing a new aerial ladder, a tiller truck. We call it a tiller. It's a tractor-drawn aerial. It's a truck like we've never had one like it before. Okay. Here in Mount Juliet, other departments have them. Different departments deploy them for different reasons. But we were in the need to replace an aerial ladder truck. And so when we needed to replace that aerial ladder, it was becoming to its date of service, which ISO and NFPA say after 15 years of service, a frontline fire apparatus needs to come out of service. It's 15 years old. The biggest reason for that is both mechanical, reliability of the truck and making sure it'll function. Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is safety. There's safety innovations that come along over that 15-year span, and they know that the trucks built today are a lot safer than the trucks that were built 15 years ago for both the public and our firefighters. And so they say that we need to replace those apparatus after 15 years. And so replacing those apparatus after 15 years, knowing that we needed to replace that tower that's currently down at Station 1, it'll be moving up to Station 3, and so we can centralize it in the middle of the city. But knowing that we needed to replace that tower, I had some of our firefighters actually come to us, one of our lieutenants especially, but other firefighters have been thinking the thoughts and gave us the idea about how to do this. One of our other needs that we had for our community, and it came to fruition this past weekend where we had one on the interstate, is vehicle extrication. We have a lot of motor vehicle accidents with the traffic that we have, with I-40 running through our city, with all the vehicles along Providence Parkway. We just have a lot of motor vehicle accidents, and some of those result where the patient is trapped in the vehicle. Mm-hmm. And so we are very limited on space in our fire apparatus. It's got a lot of firefighting equipment on it, some extrication equipment. But not enough that what we would need in a major extrication, especially something involving a tractor trailer or a large vehicle, those kind of things. And so a lot of departments, when that happens, they put on rescue trucks. And so they have a rescue truck that's called a rescue because it has the extrication stuff on it. It has other equipment on it for rescues of various kinds. But we chose to, and the idea came from our firefighters, is, hey, as we're replacing this aerial ladder truck, instead of us buying and staffing a new rescue truck, mm-hmm. why not look at this apparatus? It's got about 3 to 4 times the storage of a normal a ladder truck. Yeah. And we could store the rescue equipment on it and better utilize that ladder truck as a dual purpose vehicle, both ladder and rescue. And so that's the reason that I came to you guys this past year and said, mm-hmm. Here's our justification for wanting to do it. We need to replace the truck anyway. It will cost about $300,000 more than replacing the aerial that we would have to replace anyway. Yeah. And so we made the decision to do that. Whereas buying a rescue truck would have cost anywhere from $750,000 to $1.2 million, mm-hmm. And we would have to additionally staff that truck completely. Whereas now this truck is mostly staffed. We'll probably have to add one staff member to this to make it roll the way that it needs to. but it just made a lot of sense for us, financial wise as well as role wise, and the utilization of that vehicle.
And for our trucks, a lot of times, what my, neighbors and friends are all asking, well, Bill, like we don't have these big buildings. I'm like, well, wait a minute, let's start thinking about the landscaping, right? Yep. Some of our trucks, and let's just say any vehicle, how close can we get to the building, right? So just because you may not have a 7-story building, we can still extend out further with these bigger trucks. Is that correct?
Exactly. ISO, Insurance Service Office, basically dictates that we either have to reach the top of each building that we have that's above. We either have to be able to reach the roof of the building with an aerial ladder or have a 100-foot aerial. So the 100-foot aerial is as high as they make you go on aerials. They make aerials that are 110. Got several hotels that are 5 to 6 stories. We've got a building off of Golden Bear Parkway, Bear Crossing. We've got 2 buildings out there that are what we consider mid-rise, and that's that 4 to 7 story. And then the 7-story and up go to the high-rise buildings. But we cannot reach a mid-rise with a 75-foot aerial. We are required to have an aerial by ISO standards and for need purposes as well. We've had those. We've had a 100-foot aerial truck ever since the fire department's inception. Yeah. That's Tower 1 that's located at Station 1 that we just talked about. That's going to be the truck that we'll be replacing with the new ladder that comes in.
Now, we've covered a lot of information in a short amount of time. We're sitting here, obviously, in Building 3, right? So if we hear an alarm, I'm sorry, Building 2, 3's coming. But if we hear an alarm, obviously, it's, just to kind of set the stage for everybody. But you brought up a couple of things, this ISO. There's requirements there. Can you go into some detail? And how does that affect our citizens, right? Because, again, I'm thinking, with my background, I know kind of a little bit about it in my field, but then when we start getting into the first responder side of it, I'm lost. So I imagine so is our other family members.
The citizens and the community here, they probably remember when we went from a 5 to a 3 several years ago.
So is 5 the highest?
No,
or
actually,
the lowest?
10 is the highest. 10 means basically no fire department at all.
Okay.
It's kind of like golf, the lower score wins. So,
okay.
We were a 5 for a very long time, and we had a regrade that occurred here several years ago. And then we ended up being an ISO 3. We had added multiple positions to help with the manpower is what we lacked the most of in our first grading, especially during my time here. So we were able to go from a 5 to a 3. The chief and I both have discussed some opportunities with a lot of the cross training that we're going to speak about here in a little bit, so I don't want to steal our thunder on that. But a lot of those personnel, ISO's tied heavily to water, which West Wilson Utility District, I'll give them a shout out. They have one of the best water systems that I know I've ever seen and I know Chief's ever seen. So that has a major portion to do with it, but manpower, apparatus, equipment matter during ISO. And I know the chief will probably go into that as well and a little bit deeper, but we have a lot of opportunity coming up, especially after this cross training that we're going to talk about here soon, where we're going to be able to count a lot of manpower that we couldn't count previously, that were certified firefighters to help show that manpower is actually there compared to what we could in the past. So. Yeah,
and a grading of a 3 is not a bad thing for a community such as this. I mean, it's a great thing. Communities such as this are really proud to have ISO 3 ratings.
What is our neighbors?
Again,
I'm not trying to throw them
right.
edify or take
I'm
them
not
down,
exactly sure what the city of Lebanon is.
Nashville's a 3, I believe. Lebanon's a 2. Hendersonville, I believe, is a 3. Murfreesboro is a 1. So they vary. Typically, most the suburbs of Nashville are going to range from 1 to 3.
So we're keeping up with our surrounding communities. We're making sure that our community's safe, as well as supporting them in every way. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as Chief Edwards mentioned, the ISO is made up of a bunch of different components, and only 50% of your community's grading for ISO, even though it matters on your fire insurance, on your homeowner's insurance a lot, only comes from the fire department. So 40% of it's water supply. And so as Chief Edwards mentioned, West Wilson Utility District does an unbelievable job for us, maintaining the hydrants, keeping good hydrants, water flow, documenting that so that the system is there, having a redundant system of water. That way we make sure that we don't run out, and we literally could not do our job without them to start off with. And then the scoring that they obtained through that community score on that, it was huge for us. 10 points of it is actually our 911 communication center. So it's how we receive calls, because as you know, and we're going to be doing a lot of things of upgrading our 911 system here. We've done a lot in the last few years, and we're going to do even more with CAD systems and some technology things that are going to help us down the long run.
Yeah.
That'll be improvements on the systems that we currently have in place now, but that's about 10 points of our grading. And the additional 50 points are for the fire department. And so the fire department really kind of carries the weight there as far as Chief Edward mentions, your station locations, because we have to be able to get to these locations fast. And really, when it comes to it, ISO is very particular about what they look at. They don't care anything about running medical calls. They could care less because it's the insurance service office. What they care about is losses. In other words, loss by fire and other natural disasters, and what your capabilities are for making sure that you're stopping those things as quickly as you can and things like that. And so that's what that score is about. The big difference comes in businesses. Businesses, if we go from a class 3 to a class 1, say, our business insurance rates will drop anywhere from 3 to 8%. And as you can imagine, as a business owner, 3 to 8% is a lot of money coming off the top that you're not having to pay for insurance, that you can better put into your business and utilize for that. And so that's the big things for us, is to continue to improve. We're kind of it's one of those things. We've got so many new things on the horizon, with a new station coming, a new ladder coming, and the personnel that we've hired in the past, and kind of looking at how all that rates out. We plan on contacting ISO sometime this next year. And by what we have kind of done a self-evaluation or a calculation, we feel like we will definitely be a class 2, but potentially even a class 1 next year whenever we contact them to be rated, just because of the innovations that we've made, station locations and a lot of other things like that we're doing with the new station, and centralizing a lot of the apparatus there, like our ladder truck, our battalion chief, our EMS lieutenant. We will centralize them in the center of the city, because it's very difficult to get from Belinda Parkway to Lebanon Road and Green Hill Road. I mean, that's a long haul from Belinda Parkway. So centralizing those resources will help reduce the response times there.
That's awesome. Well, anytime I hear about technology, I heard you drop that a couple times, and talking over with our police chief and deputy chief, I hear something's going to be coming out as some new technology, not only for them, but also for you and your team. Mm-hmm. Can you guys go into some detail on what we're looking on your side of things, and how that's going to work for this drone that we keep hearing about, or drones, plural?
The drones, plural. We'll be receiving one of those drones to put on our station at Station 1 down on Belinda Parkway in the Providence area. And really what it'll do for us, is be able to rapid deploy, is what they've used the word and phrase for getting on scene, getting eyes on scene, helping our dispatch, help notify our oncoming personnel of what's happening, what they're seeing. And it just sets the whole stage really for the scene that they're going to. It helps better mitigate, the plan that they're going to have. It certainly could change strategy and tactics on how they're going to, fight that fire or mitigate the emergency, such as a hazardous material, or be a serious motor vehicle accident. Traffic, just basically everything that you could imagine that goes into an emergency scene. It really will help, strengthen our team, keep our thoughts together a little bit more straight prior to getting on scene, and just playing with the cards that were dealt. We actually have a little bit of a game plan on the way. Our guys have very little time to think things through. Most of the time, it's instantaneous, and life-threatening decisions had to be made on the cusp with little time to think things through. So
yeah, if you think about it, with the drone, it's obviously going to get there a lot sooner, right? It's going to be able to then send back the pictures of what they're seeing, whether if it's something you guys can slow down because it's not as big as you thought, or maybe the pump truck got there sooner because it's not having to fight through traffic. And then at the same time, like you said, it's preparing the team for what they're getting ready to walk into. Us as residents, we're running out of the emergency, and here you guys are running to the emergency and then running into the emergency. That's even scarier. Absolutely. So to set our team up for success, it's going to be a win-win. So is there any additional thoughts you want to add into there?
Well, the biggest thing for us is our responder safety and the safety of the public. I mean, those are the two big things for us, and any tool that we can use to help us keep our public safer and our responders safer, especially, because if our responders are not safe in doing their job, then we're not going to be able to help you. and helping the person that needs it the most. And so, as you're aware, we've been doing pre-incident planning with our crews, going into businesses and looking at where the natural gas shutoffs are, where the roof accesses are, making sure that they have the key holder information. We call that pre-incident planning, meaning if we have an incident here, we've got this information that we can immediately look at as we're on the way to the call to say, hey, these are all the particulars of this particular building. And it's basically like game planning for a game, a football game or basketball, or like watching film. I mean, you're literally on your way to the call studying up on this is where our gas cutoffs are, here's what we might have with this. Well, the drone actually provides that same thing for us. It's like an instant overview of what we're going to see when we get there. So it gives you kind of that windshield view or that look of, oh my gosh, this is more than what we anticipated based on dispatch, or this may be less than what we anticipated on dispatch. And one of the thoughts that I come back to, because I came over here from when I was in Murfreesboro, I came over here during the tornadoes, and you think about this technology with the drones and having that technology and the capabilities of that technology around when we had the tornadoes here in Mount Juliet, to be able to go up and do a quick assessment with those drones, to be able to see the damage immediately and see how far widespread we are, what houses this may involve, what businesses this may involve, and where our life safety issues may be. Because one of the things that we did that night is we made sure that our personnel, all the personnel that were here working that night, went to those areas that were affected, like Clearview subdivision that had so many houses that were damaged, that we ran around each one of those houses and were basically calling out for people to make sure that no one had been thrown out into the yard that we were unaware of, that may be injured, maybe not in the house that we could see, but were somewhere laying injured out, even in the middle of the night. And so those are the things that the drone will give you capabilities of that we haven't had before. So we're very excited about the technology.
Before I get into the next topic, there was something that you threw a nugget in there, which is that we're being proactive going into our commercial buildings. And I just want to give a shout out to your team on doing that, because me coming from the facility world, that's something that we've always done, is try to bring in our fire department to say, hey, these are our buildings, these are our method of procedures, MOPS, or sequence of operations, how our building works. And it's that partnership of what we try to accomplish. So that way you're familiar with our buildings, what we have in our buildings, any type of hazard material or confined space, you know what you're walking into. And that's the partnership. So I appreciate you guys being proactive on that. I've heard that you guys have found some good catches, is what I would call them, or near misses.
Well, and the one other thing, the different program that we have there is the life safety inspection. So we got two things going on when we go into businesses. Our trucks will go into the businesses and our entire crew will go in and say, okay, now we're looking for key holder information and we're looking for those things that we need to know for safety.
Yeah.
But we are also conducting life safety inspections. And so we've been conducting those with our fire marshal and our fire inspector. They go out and do the life safety inspections, and they're going into businesses looking for, okay, do we have enough aisleways here? Is there 36 inches clear of each door? Are the fire extinguishers up to date? Are they in working order? Have you had your fire sprinkler system tested if you have a fire sprinkler system? Are you doing all the things that you're required to do by fire code in this building? And we're not doing that to gig anybody, and we're not doing it to write a citation, because we haven't written one single citation. And that's awesome. The major thing about it is the business owners a lot of times just don't know what they don't know about things that they need to have in place. And our whole goal is, one, to keep our public safe, like we mentioned, but two, to limit their liability. Because if they stay in business and they stay prosperous, it's great for our city. And it's great for everybody, because we collect sales tax revenue. The citizens have a great place to shop and do their business, or eat or otherwise, and do their business, and everybody is safe all at the same time. So what we have found, and we've had over 1,000 fire code violations found in that program since November. Over 1,000.
Last year?
Just this past year.
That's exciting.
Not one single citation has been issued. All of the issues have been addressed and corrected. And even better than that, you as a commissioner have not heard one single complaint. Our city manager has not heard one single complaint from the business owners saying, why are we having to do this? Because they really see this as the opportunity to limit their liability, for them to stay in business and us to keep them in business the way that they need to be, and for us to do the right thing for our citizens.
So we're being proactive versus reactive, and we're also educating our building owners or landlords and so forth, and just being a good steward of our community, essentially.
Exactly.
So, obviously earlier you threw out a nugget, Joey, when you start talking about some of this training and so forth. Can you guys go into some detail? Because I know we've got a new EMS and we've got new fire, some additional, just say team members. Mm-hmm. Can you go into some detail, gentlemen, on what we've been accomplishing and how we protecting our citizens by doing that?
Well, I know we're extremely proud of our, everything we've accomplished through EMS, and even now more so our training has been just totally, the offerings that we're offering now, everything from in-house EMT basic to advanced emergency medical technician to fire instructor 1, fire officer 1 and 2s. We're just being really what I feel is invest in our people, which is what we've already mentioned here is huge for succession for us, and I think that's going to prove really, really well for us, especially when it comes to our ISO grading. Most likely by the end of this year alone, every single member in this department will be trained to advanced emergency medical technician as well as a firefighter 2.
Really?
So we've already conducted, we have one AEMT going currently right now. We have a second plan for the fall. We've already completed one in-house recruit program with a second plan for the fall as well. In conjunction with those two, that one should wrap up by Halloween, and then the AEMT should finish by the end of the year, calendar year. So, to say that everyone now is going to be completely cross-trained between fire and EMS, I hear that a lot of times is EMS paying for itself and that type of thing. Well, I can tell you you're getting great value from the personnel that you're going to be able to claim, from an ISO grading standpoint, from a response standpoint, having ambulances manned with competent trained people, officers that have been through the trainings, been through certification courses such as IFSAC and Pro Board, through our State Fire Commission. They've done everything that's required of them, and we're super proud of that. I know our Assistant Chief VMS, Eric Newman, he does a phenomenal job with keeping us on track with that. Everything from operationally to our billing to everything that probably the public never really sees and you never hear about because it just gets done. And then secondly, our Assistant Chief of Training, Scott Lively, has done a phenomenal job since he's come on board. As I just mentioned to you, with these multiple in-house courses, I can tell you just in the EMT class alone, it's a savings of $30,000 by us doing it in-house versus shipping it out to some of the community colleges. So,
And that's annually or quarterly or what?
It's for every class.
For every class that we would
for every
perform.
class that we do. So, we currently have an AEMT class going on right now, and it just having our own personnel teach it in-house, it's a major cost savings. And again, kudos goes to those two guys in conjunction with each other. They work hand in hand, and they've just strengthened us really operationally from way advanced compared to what I envisioned it being. So, very proud of that.
No, it's great. And obviously we've got the holidays right around the corner. You got 4th of July, so that's going to be a little strain to the department when it comes down to making sure they respond quickly and protecting our citizens. What are we doing? Because I know we've got the 4th of July event, which is going to be on Friday, and your staff, I've been able to attend some of those meetings. Great job. They're asking amazing questions. They've done this a couple times, right?
Sure.
So, but then at the same time, we've got the residents that are obviously going to be blowing things up, me being one of them. But then at the same time, so what are we going to be preparing for those right there when it comes to, that weekend event? Because I know that there's going to be some folks, I just want to throw this out there. The codes have changed. Last year they changed, and I know we were a little lenient because people weren't getting in, the awareness, but I want to make sure everybody understands what are we doing to prepare, but what are the dates that we can be able to let off the fireworks?
I'll speak just quickly
Sorry.
on the operational side, then I'll let him cover kind of the rules and regs. But just a popular night. People, like you said, blowing up things, shooting things off, and sometimes there's a lot of parties that get maybe a little out of hand, and so we ask you to be responsible for that. But we're always enhanced with personnel from our events standpoint through extra medical personnel that are there. It is hot on 4th of July, and we have had people go down, that get overheated and things like that. So we have additional people that are committed only to the event, and then we still have staffing that goes to respond to the community, because not everybody shows up at those events, and we know that. But we do not take our resources that are in the stations and put them at the event. We always enhance it with extra staffing. So, from that part, you'll always have some extra bodies on staff for that night. Again, it's just a busy day for us. A lot of people are having get-togethers, a lot of parties, a lot of festivities, and there's just a whole lot going on.
Yeah, and I would piggyback on Justin. We've done a lot of special event planning. We like doing planning for these special events because those are where you're putting a lot of people together. So things like the 4th of July, the Christmas parade, things like that, where we have high impact and could have a lot of calls at those, we'll offer up special staffing for those, just to make sure that we've got them staffed up appropriately and that we can provide the need for that larger gathering of people that are there. So they're doing a great job on that. Our assistant chief, our fire marshal, Brent Blaymeyers, is handling all the fire side of that. And then Chief Newman, EMS side, is handling all the EMS side for that event. But they will also, as you mentioned, they're cross-trained, they will work together to do so. And so that provides a great component there. But, as you mentioned about fireworks, some people love fireworks like you, and then some people don't like fireworks because they cause issues for them. And so, what we want to do is kind of be cognizant of both sides of that. And so shortly after I came here, they had just passed you all had just passed a fireworks ordinance a little while before I came here. And then a couple of months after I came here, it was asked that they open up that fireworks ordinance to allow more sale dates to mirror state law from some of the fireworks vendors. And so we took that as an opportunity to say, okay, we can allow the sale of fireworks during these days, but let's limit and restrict down the total number of days that we can shoot fireworks. We want you to shoot fireworks, but we want you to do it responsibly, and we want it to kind of be over a more condensed period of time instead of having 2 full weeks that people could just be shooting fireworks at any time. Because what a lot of people that love fireworks don't realize is for every person that loves fireworks and they love shooting them and they go out there and have a great time doing it, other people have pets that it really bothers. People have PTSD issues. Some people have sleep issues or have small children and things like that, and having that impact for 2 consecutive weeks is a lot. And so that's why we asked the commissioners last year to approve pulling that down to about 3 days of shooting. And then we had the best intentions in mind last year. Whenever we said it, we were like, okay, the day before the 4th of July, the day of 4th of July, and the Saturday before. That'll be the best days for us to shoot. And as we found out last year, a lot of people came back to us and said, the 4th of July was on a Thursday this year, and you couldn't even shoot fireworks on Friday and Saturday after the holiday was over. And so we kind of looked at that and came up with a matrix of days, and it depends on what day the 4th falls on as to what days you can shoot fireworks. The commission approved that new ordinance change to do that. And this year, as an example, you can literally shoot fireworks on the 3rd, the Thursday before the 4th on Friday the 4th, and Saturday the 5th. And so it covers the entire weekend this year. And we try to do that and balance it out to where it makes it the most effective days for everybody to be able to shoot fireworks in the city of Mount Juliet, but it also keeps us safe. And it keeps us cognizant of those people that fireworks really do bother and that it creates issues for those. But other than that, we would just ask for everybody just to really, truly practice fireworks safety whenever you're doing those. Make sure that you're not impacting your neighbors. Make sure that those bottle rockets or other things are not falling on your neighbor's lawn, their vehicles, or their roofs, the way that you're shooting them. Just make sure that you're responsible about it, because truthfully, you are responsible for damage that may cause, even if you're doing it legally. But if you're doing it illegally, you're especially responsible for the damage it may cause if it does cause damage to someone's property or a person. So we just want everybody to be responsible with it and do the right thing.
Yeah, I know for me, it's all about hearing protection, safety goggles, proper PPE that you're wearing, and then caution off the area, wetting off the area, making sure you have fire extinguishers. And then, of course, we do so many other things to be redundant. So, but it's great with the partnership with, your staff is doing. And also, I mean, one thing I did like, to hear about is the fact that we, that weekend in particular, with us getting to this point, you guys increased staff. So if we were to push it out 2 weeks, that's just more cost back to the citizens. And not only that, then we don't know the isolation problems, right? So it's always good that you guys partner with the police, and as well as just making sure the community is following these rules.
Well, and the other provision that we did not have in place before that allows us to have that in place is very similar to like your subdivision and other subdivisions, communities that want to have the shows. They want to, they ask people to commit, instead of shooting fireworks on your own, hey, commit some dollars and let's offer up some funds to let's buy a lot of fireworks and let's have a community show. And we want people to do that, but we want them to do it safely. So that's allowed, and that's allowable to do. You just have to submit to our fire marshal, for that permit to say, and it's not a no-cost permit. We just come out and say, okay, what's your site plan? What's the capabilities here? How many people are you planning on having? And those kind of things. It just makes those events safer. It also gives us the ability for and we'll say churches that may be having an anniversary, football games like here at Green Hill High School, across the street, where they can shoot fireworks after touchdowns or, after the ball game's over legally. And, we can allow them to shoot it. They have to submit their plans to us at the start of the year, and we'll say, okay, on these Friday nights, you have permission. You've got your plan in place, and we know that you're going to be shooting fireworks, and it just makes everything safe, and it's a lot more uniform.
That's great. Well, gentlemen, as always, it's great to get together and just kind of break bread and hear a little bit about what you guys are doing for this year and next year. I appreciate your guys' time, and I hope we get to do this here in another 6 months. We're going to talk about it.
The one thing that I did want to mention before we go, because Joey briefly mentioned it, and it's kind of going back to the training thing. When we were created as a fire department, we're a very young fire department. I mean, in 2013, so we're just 12 years old now, and so. What happened was a lot of firefighters were hired that had very minimal medical training. So we had emergency medical responder, which is really not even a licensure at the state level, it's certification. And so that is basically an enhanced version of first aid for first responders. Essentially, it's emergency medical responder. But a lot of our personnel, when we hired them, had firefighter training, and they were trained to emergency medical responder as we started responding to medical calls at that time. And then on the converse, when we started the EMS division, whenever we started doing transport in 2023, we hired a lot of people that had medical-only certifications, but no fire certifications. And so when they were hired, they were paramedics and advanced EMTs that had never participated in firefighting at all before. And so cross-training them is both avenues. We're taking people that have never had any firefighting whatsoever and training them to medical, and we're taking firefighters that had very limited medical and bringing them up to a much more advanced level. And what I've told people in the community is that really augments the response for everything, because we don't have to call as much overtime because, hey, this guy's, he's got fire training, but he doesn't have any medical training enough to be on an ambulance. And so we don't have to call overtime for that because now we've got both. They've got the training to be on both vehicles and staff those vehicles all the time. So it helps us overtime-wise, helps us operationally. It helps even if a person's going to primarily be assigned to the ambulance all the time. If we have a structure fire and one of our firefighters get hurt, or we have a victim coming out of that fire, they are fully trained in firefighting. So they know very well what environment that person was in and involved in, and what they're coming from and everything else. And it helps them do things on the fire ground that are much better for us. So both of those things really work to augment each other. But it's been amazing what the EMS division's done for us, or what EMS Transport's done for us, because I presented a few weeks ago for our breakfast rotary here, and we were talking about call volume, and we were talking about EMS and so I said, well, after 2 years, what's the difference in our community? And so if you look at the difference in our community and why the commission decided to take on transport as far as the way that it went, it's not saying that Wilson Emergency Management Agency was doing a bad job, but they were limited on resources, and the resources that we thought we needed in this community to do a better job for our citizens. And so when an EMS was originally started, we put 2 ambulances on. With those 2 ambulances, and when I came to work here, we were staffing 2 ambulances in August, and we quickly had a conversation because we were looking at, okay, how many times with 2 ambulances on board are we still having to where we're running out of ambulances, because an ambulance is transporting a patient to the hospital. We don't have any ambulance availability at all. And at that point in time, we were averaging having to call WEMA in to provide service to us whenever we were out of ambulances about 32 times a month or so. A little over 30 times a month we were having to call them in. So you could say at least once a day we were having to call WEMA in for support. When we added the 3rd ambulance after we opened the Green Hill station in May, we added that in October. And since then, we are averaging less than 8 times a month that we have to call WEMA. And so amazing. To say that we're right-sized with our staffing and the availability of ambulances is on point. We definitely are. But the other factor of it is it's not only helped the community in Mount Juliet, because we've got 3 ambulances that are dedicated to the city limits in Mount Juliet, whereas there were 2 that were dedicated to both the city limits and portions of the county in the past. And so, but now if you look at the west side of 109, and if you take 109 and just divide it straight out from Gladeville all the way up through Lakeview, on this side of our county, in the past there were literally 4 ambulances on, 1 in Gladeville, 1 in Lakeview, and 2 in Mount Juliet, or closely associated with Mount Juliet here. Now that we've added our 3, there are 7 ambulances on this side of 109, because they still have their ambulances that are here close to the city. If they need us to support them, we support them. We provide mutual aid to them, and et cetera. been a fantastic working relationship with them, and we hope that continues throughout. But we literally now have 7 ambulances on this side of the city, and it's providing such a amped up service that it's not even, I mean, it's hard to describe truthfully the impact that it has on our community and those response times and not being out of ambulances. But like I told somebody before, Chief Mullins told me after I came here, he said, I sat with an officer off of Posey Hill Road that had chased a suspect into a field, fell into a hole and broke his leg. Mm-hmm. And he said, I sat with that officer for over 26 minutes waiting on an ambulance. He said, and he said, I just never ever want to do that again. He said, he's in pain. I'm waiting on an ambulance and we don't have an ambulance available. So one's coming from another jurisdiction to come in here. But I can assure you, we haven't even come close to a 15-minute response time in the city of Mount Juliet since we started the ambulance service, much less an over 20-minute response time since this program started. So those things are huge for life-saving efforts. The things that we're doing EMS-wise are very innovative. Our medical director, Dr. McKinney, is incredible. Vanderbilt is incredible for us as a medical direction. Having their EMS Center of Innovation is just unbelievable. And sorry, but we're doing some very advanced things and more advanced things to come. Probably within the next few months, we're going to be one of 3 agencies in the entire state that is carrying blood on our ambulances for patients similar to what we had this past weekend on a motor vehicle accident on I-40, where we had a long extrication. That patient needed blood. And so we're going to start carrying blood to where those patients that are in traumatic events and have lost a lot of blood, we can perfuse them with blood right there on the scene. So that's one of the things that we're looking at very soon into the future. That's just a major innovation over the way that business had been done, just because we have the ability. We have the core group of people that are great paramedics and EMTs that give us the ability to be able to perform those skills at a much higher level. That's
awesome. I did not know about that part. That was even way cooler to be able to know what the next generation's rolling into. So, so that's great stuff. Did we miss anything? I know there's a lot to cover, and I know we're short on time, but I also want to be respectful of everybody else that's been watching all of this. So, is there anything you guys want to close out with, or?
No, we appreciate you having us. Thanks for your support.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thanks to you and the other commissioners for all your support, our city administration. I mean, it's just, we couldn't do what we do without your support and your guidance and direction on knowing what our community desires. We feel like they desire the best service possible, and our goal is to make it to where what you all couldn't have even imagined service level wise to our citizens, we exceed that every single time, better than you could even imagine.
Well, I can tell you right now, I mean, I know this commission cares a lot about their citizens, and when it's always about safety first. And so that's great. I appreciate everything that they're doing. Our mayor is amazing. Our other commissioners are always talking about safety. They're always being proactive. So it's just great to know that we can all mesh together and work this all out. So with that, I mean, I guess that's all I've got for you guys. Looking forward to the next chapter here, and hopefully I get back with you guys for 6 months. So
absolutely.
You close us out?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.